This is the Mooncast. So yeah, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the crypto market and the two banks that just collapsed, the Silvergate and Silicon Valley. Yeah, did you hear anything about it, or have you?
I mean, I've definitely heard something about it. It's just that it's difficult to follow everything happening because it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I know the way banks work. They're just gonna get bailed out. Really, it happens all the time. The government's gonna step in. They're gonna kind of bail them out, and that's just the way it's gonna happen. The unfortunate thing is that people were actually informed of this. The bailout should have happened kind of seamlessly, as it normally does, but it hasn't in this case.
hmm Yeah, it's interesting because they're having an emergency meeting on Monday about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
you know, and for sure they're going to have to bail. Because here's the thing, especially with the Silicon Valley Bank, from the research that I've done so far, basically they have enough assets to cover the liabilities up to 25% threshold. And once more than 25% people start trying to redeem their deposits from the bank, that's when they're going to start having a lot of major issues, because it's going to be like a bank run. Once people realize they can't get their money out, then more people are going to try to get their money out. And the problem is they've frozen the capability of these companies because it's smaller, it's SMEs, so it's not the big tech companies because they're liquid, the big tech companies, but it's the smaller ones in Silicon Valley, the startups that are partnered with this bank, or credited their liquidity to this bank. And the thing is, their liquidity is frozen, and so they can't proceed in payroll, for instance. They can't pay their debts, they can't pay their employees because majority of the liquidity is held up in this bank. And if they can't do that, then it's going to cause a cascading effect of a whole bunch of companies going out of business, and then a whole bunch of employees losing their jobs. And you know how that works. Then there's going to be less spending within the economy. It's kind of actually good in a sense for what the Fed was trying to achieve, which was to decrease the amount of spending within the economy, to decrease the amount of inflation. And but that's why I'm curious to see what they're actually going to do on Monday, because if they bail out this bank, well, it's going to cause more inflation.
I mean, I kind of suffered. I experienced something very similar in the real world, not in the crypto world. So I think it was back in 2013. Cyprus had a bail-in, and
Mhm.
basically what that did is the country owed money, and they went to the European Union for help. Now at the time, the European Union was bailing out different countries. So instead of bailing them out, they decided to do a bail-in, which meant that um, the money that was held in the banks, they would use that to cover like a portion of the money they had in. Like basically, your money was no longer secure.
Mhm.
So when that happened, companies weren't able to do payrolls, and it was very similar. So you wouldn't be able to pay your staff. So anything over 100,000 was kind of frozen. So what they did is they said, if you have 100,000 euros, then you're kind of protected up until that point, and that was per person. And then, but anything over that, you couldn't get anything over that. Um, and I mean, it was devastating for the economy. The economy suffered for like 3 to 4 years after that point. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say is, if this is kind of happening in the crypto world, I kind of see something similar kind of happening there, where people won't be able to maneuver in a financial sense, in a business sense anyway. Um, I can't predict what's going to happen, and I'm sure you can't. It's just
Mhm.
what will happen is I don't know. I've seen it happen in the real world, and it wasn't pretty, and it was really bad because all of a sudden you saw startups not starting up, you saw companies not moving, you saw empty properties, you saw empty businesses. And if this does happen in crypto, you're going to see a lot of money leaving this space. But it depends how they react. So if they decide to start the money printing and bail them out, then everything's fine and as it was. But if they do a kind of bail in, or they just don't bail them out, well, they can't do a bail in, so you just be one bailing them out. If they don't bail them out, then it's going to be a devastating effect. I think for the next, possibly after 2005 to 2024, 2025, from that point on. But if they bail them out, you're going to see I believe anyway, you're going to see a small bull run, not anything dramatic, but you're going to see the market somewhat correct itself temporarily. But from a large point of view, I think that it's very difficult to underestimate the value of the Bitcoin halving, which is when things do get interesting.
Yeah. It's for me, I'm looking at it like this, right? Either way it goes, I think it's a win for crypto because one, the banks are failing, right? And if they don't decide to bail them out, then it just it basically serves as a catalyst for them to be able to not have to keep increasing the rate hike so much throughout the course of the year to hike the rates, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose liquidity and it's going to cause a huge cascading effect. What I am scared of though is a regional run on the banks, right? So imagine if people lose confidence because of the situation that's going on and there's no bailout, then everyone's going to start looking into other banks that have, a kind of shady, balance sheets, right? And so if their balance sheets are shady and they're not super cash heavy and they have these mortgage-backed securities and they have these long-term bonds and all these different types of assets that they have, and they have more liabilities than assets, and they don't have the deep enough liquidity to pay back depositors, then you'll see potentially a regional run on the banks, which would maybe consolidate the banking systems to just the top 3, top 4 banks like JP Morgan and stuff like that. So that could be a potential thing, man. And the more confidence is lost in the banks, it's just, I think for me, it's better for crypto because people start to realize, hey, this system it's not what you think it is. And banks are broke.
Yeah.
They don't have our money, and people still haven't realized that yet. So some people are going to have to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame really because we give them our money, so they should really have our money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I mean, it's just, yeah. I think any bank can suffer a bank run once news gets out. I don't know what banks you deal with, but for instance, if your local bank was to suffer bad news or FUD, everybody will start withdrawing, and all of a sudden you have a bank run. So I don't think that's kind of like I just think that's the norm. But the thing is, why should a bank run even happen if they have the money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And part of the reason is just the over leverage, man. That just a lot of these banks are over leveraged. Like I said, a lot of them are broke. They have more liabilities than assets, and they can't fulfill, a large amount of withdrawals at one time, And it's funny because people clown the whole situation with FTX, and I'm like, FTX was a Web2 company, and you should never trust your money or your funds to a private entity, in my opinion. I think it's way too risky. You should either put it in real estate, put it in gold, or put it in crypto. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, there is an inherent risk with anything. Of course. But if because I have some ISAs, which is like an individual savings account, and what they do, they protect your money up until I think it's like £87,000. So looking at that from that point of view, if the government cover if they give you a banker's guarantee scheme thing where your money's kind of secure, then you're okay. The problem we're having is a lot of these shady centralized exchanges were stating that they had some security or some backing or everything was, kosher, when in fact they had none of that. It was just kind of smoke screens. They tried to now some of the exchanges, the centralized players, they've got this proof of reserves thing going on.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Ultimately, people want to know that you have their money. It's not like we're not asking for a lot here. We just want to know that you have our money. So when it comes time for us to withdraw, or there is some kind of a situation within the economy, that you're not going to turn around and say, "Puff, it's gone." You know.
Exactly. I have been hearing that people as an option are basically saying that we should buy T-bills, like treasury bills. And yeah, I mean, yeah, for those who don't know, for the audience, it's just basically like the government, let's say you have like $1,000 and the government will issue a T-bill at like $980, and then they'll give you like a 2% yield or something like that. Basically, so when you retrieve the bill, they'll pay you back the actual amount for the backing of the one-to-one. You know what I mean? So they kind of issue it out as a discount, and then they pay you back the difference whenever you want to recoup it, depending on the duration. And usually for like 1 year, up to 1 year. So if you have like $1,000, you buy it at $980. When you recoup the T bill, they pay you back the $20 difference, right? On top. But yeah,
So
it's
so basically, let me just get that straight. You buy it for $980, but it's worth $1,000.
exactly, it's worth $1,000 when you redeem it.
Okay. But
Yeah,
the issue you have is with inflation. So
exactly.
so yeah, so okay, so it might be worth $1,000, but in purchasing power, if I mean, just look at this year, we're hitting something like 15% inflation, something silly like that. I mean, the statistics, they're not even saying the statistics.
They're trying to
Um,
readjust it. They're trying to readjust the statistics
I
again.
mean, this is what we're having. They're readjusting it. They're shape shifting them. They're just like, this isn't real, but it actually is. I know for a fact that I used to pay so much money when it comes to food shopping. Now it's gone up. Gas and electricity has gone up. Rent has gone up. Rent used to be. I know. I've heard of people that were paying £600-700 rent. Now it's up to £900 to £1,000 rent. So that's not 10%. You know.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, they keep moving the goalpost, and I know like how they were measuring the rate of inflation for housing is they were calling up people and doing like a consensus of saying like, hey, what percentage of do you think that your house has increased in rent and stuff like that, and they were fudging the numbers in that type of way for rent. And I heard like now they want to the new thing they want to do, they want to take out gas and rent completely, from the entire metrics, which is it's kind of silly when you think about it. It's like this is the number one expense that most people have is rent, right?
Well,
And
definitely, definitely.
I can tell you just from firsthand experience from my brothers, for instance, before the pandemic, they were paying I think like $1,500 or $1,600 for the rent, and it shot up to like $2,200 after the pandemic, right?
I mean, I live in England, so I'm based here. So a guy here, he earns. I know this personally. So he earns like, let's say he earns like after tax like 19 to 20,000 a year.
Yeah,
I've calculated he lives in a one bedroom apartment, which literally isn't very big. He's just got literally his bedroom, um, a living room, and a tiny kitchen, and a small space for him to park his car. He's paying like 670 rent. Okay. Okay, get this. So on top of that, his gas and electricity comes to around 250, £200 a month. Additionally, he has £2,000 council tax, roughly about 1,500 to £2,000 per year council tax. He's got around
what is
100.
that? What is that? What is the council tax? What is that?
Well, the council tax basically pays for your local police, your local anything over here. It's called council tax, so it's like the tax of the house.
Yeah,
So it's the person who rents it that pays it rather than the landlord.
yeah,
So it's roughly about 1,500 to 2,000. So his rent is say near enough 670. I mean, I can do the calculations now. Hold on, and you're going to see that there's not awfully much left over. Let's say
yeah.
670 times 12. He's paying 8 grand. rent per year, plus let's say roughly 2,000 council tax, 10,000 with the council tax. So that's 10 grand. So that's more than half of his salary's gone, and that's without the bills. His internet's roughly £50 a month, let's say. Times that by 12, what's that? 600?
That's 600. Yeah.
Yeah, 600. So that's his internet. His gas and electricity, I would say, is about 200. Let's say
A month?
150. Let's say 150 to 200 a month. Let's say 160 a month.
Yeah.
So
Around
let's say,
$1,800, something like that.
yeah, something like that. So plus $1,800. I think that's like conservative. So 12,440. Okay, so he's like on 19,000 after tax. So if you minus that, and this is without his food shopping, by the way.
Yeah. Does he still have car insurance too?
Yeah, he still has car insurance. So he's left with, without food shopping or anything, 6,700. That's simply just to live in that house.
That's silly, man.
And that's the
Silly.
truth. That's
Yeah.
how it is. That's how it
Yeah.
is. So I mean, the advice I give to anybody now is live with your parents as long as you can, save up a deposit, and buy your first house. I mean,
That's what I told my brothers. That's the exact advice what you just said is what I told my little brothers. They're 17 and 18 now, and I told them stay with my parents as long as you possibly can.
As long as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because on the end of the day, if you're paying rent, that's dead money, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's off the scope of this podcast, but it's dead money. You're paying all this money simply just to survive, and you're not even enjoying it.
Facts, man. And yeah, we're entering a stage where it could be a little bit scary because it's so unpredictable because, we've just been up and up since '08. And it's kind of strange because they're trying to increase the interest rates and the inflation isn't really coming down. They're trying to adjust the metrics and fudge the numbers. And now you have the issue of banks starting to collapse. So who else is swimming naked? We don't really know. And we don't know what this kind of cascading effect will cause. We don't know who else was invested with those banks. The bank stock went down in 2 days, like 90 something percent. Like that's crazy. Silicon Valley Bank stock went down from like over $100 something to like $3, $4.
I mean, on the end of the day, with crypto, it's highly speculative. So any small, if the normal market dumps by 20%, it's like the end of the world. But if the normal market dumps by 20%, the crypto market will dump by 98%, So I think this is kind of what's happening. The fact that crypto is still an emerging field, it's more susceptible to volatility. That's my feeling on it. So do I think that we're heading out of a recession? I don't think so. I think the fact is we have to look at the way the normal economy is going, the way the actual economy, rather than the crypto economy. Look at the way the way the world's going overall. We printed a ton of money during COVID pandemic. I think 80% of the money that is in our economy now has entered due to the pandemic. They were giving out money to businesses. They were giving out money to people for not working. I mean, this is what I like to say to people, and people kind of, I don't know if they agree or they disagree, but I mean, this is how I say it. As an average individual person, okay, in America or in Europe, how much money do you have in your bank to sit and not work? So, what's the average?
I would say most people don't even have up to like a couple $1,000s in their bank account.
I think it's between 2 to 3 months maximum.
Yeah, I would say like, a couple $1,000s for like a good 2 to 3 months. I think that's most people. Not people like us. We're different, but yeah, most people I would say like $2,000 to $3,000. If that,
2 to 3 months at most. At most 5 to 6, 7 months, something like that.
Yeah.
So how could we expect the government to be giving out paychecks during COVID for almost a year for people not to work?
Yeah.
I mean, if an individual person doesn't have the money to support himself for more than 2 to 3 months, right? How would you expect the government to sit there now, giving you money not to do anything? And the problem we're having now, it was a huge social problem as well. I mean, it wasn't just kind of like the printing of the money and giving it to them. It was the social problem that you actually made people lazy. And I mean, being from, I mean, I work in non crypto as well. I work within the food industry. So seeing it from that point of view, I've seen a lot of people become lazy, become complacent, and socially the whole world just changed, where they expected more money for doing less.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden they were getting paid 80% of their salary to do nothing, and now all of a sudden we were begging them to come back to work to get paid 100% of their salary for doing like working as normal, and they were like, no, we don't want to come back. So this kind of this whole thing's happened, and all this money's gone into the economy. So what's going to happen? I mean, historically speaking, when they print all this money, and they devalue the currency to the point where they've overly printed money, the currency collapses. So where do you think things are going to go in like 2 to 3 years from this point on? Do you think we're just going to see more inflation? Do you think the currency is going to collapse completely? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me personally, I think that the way that things are going, which how their magic trick, which is to quantitative tightening, right? And it's not working this time. Like they've been tightening for what, over a year now? You know, they've been tightening since late 2021, like Q4 2021. They started tightening, and now we're in 2023. Inflation isn't really coming down, right? The nominal rate of inflation, the rate that we actually know is to be true, isn't coming down, and
I mean,
they're still tightening. It's not working.
The issue we had the housing bubble, and what they did
Yeah.
is they kind of released they kind of released mortgage deals at 0%, like virtually no percent. You were getting the loan for free, and they did that so it wouldn't collapse the housing market. So people could still buy housing at these ridiculously inflated prices. Now that they can't really push interest rates any lower, they've kind of pushed them a bit higher, but not enough, in my opinion. I mean, it's like 4 or 5%. But the thing you're having is where can they go from this point on? Quantitative easing isn't working. They can't really drop interest rates or increase them dramatically without affecting the market. They've increased them a little bit now, and people have stopped kind of buying houses at this point. So things aren't going up as they used to be. So and whilst all this is happening, inflation is still going up.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is the big issue is, so I foresee eventually something's going to collapse. Like for instance, this huge Silvergate and also Silicon Valley banks. These banks, if they collapse and cause this cascading effect that we maybe predict, then this could probably be the beginning of the stages where they have to switch up their monetary strategy, right? They might have to start easing again, which would cause more inflation, or they have to let a whole bunch of millions of people lose their jobs and basically have no liquidity to be able to sustain themselves, which would be a bad situation anyways, because if you think about it, these people don't have jobs, so they're not paying tax. So the number one way that the revenue stream for the government is tax. And so when they're not collecting tax, they need to subsidize the deficit, right? In some way, shape, or form.
I mean, completely. I mean, what I think they're just going to get bailed out personally. I think that if I think it's the second largest bank.
Silvergate is the biggest bank for crypto companies, and Silicon Valley Bank is the biggest bank for tech startups.
So it would be devastating for them to go under.
Yeah, if they go under, all these SMEs, they're all going to go under, and they employ around 10 to 100 to 200 employees, because they're smaller. So you got to think all these banks going under that could have been the pioneers for the new tech age, for the new tech economy in Silicon Valley will all die. But I already predicted that Dubai is the new Silicon Valley, in my opinion. I think they've got their ducks in a row and they're doing everything correctly. Did you see the Abu Dhabi $2 billion fund that they're doing to raise for tech startups? Yeah,
No, I didn't see that. Well, I mean, if yeah, I'll definitely have a look at that. To be honest with you, I've been so many things have been going on, as
yeah.
particularly this week, that I haven't really. I know what happened with USDC and kind of that kind of depegging, which isn't great, but I think that's going to restore its peg. In terms of in terms of like what in terms of like where we're gonna where we're heading towards, with what's going on with Dubai, I'm not. I don't really know about that. Dubai is kind of a bubble in itself.
You think
So
so?
yeah, I think so. I think it's a bubble in itself. I think they're doing well. They're great marketers. They're great at generating revenue. But yeah, I think it is a bubble. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, because I have a different stance on it because I see it as, look, they were smart because they knew the oil money was going to run out, and then they increased they decreased the taxes to zero, and then enticed entrepreneurs to come there. So the entrepreneurs are more enticed to stay there because of the favorable tax situation. Which then, when they run out of exports, right, which is the oil, then it can be subsidized through the entrepreneurs hiring the local workers, right? Because entrepreneurs will stay there and they'll give the jobs to as many entrepreneurs as possible and be crypto friendly because they're understanding that that's the new wave, Web3. And so I see all the big major businesses building over there also because it's simplified. You don't have to worry about tax, right? So you don't have to worry about when you're doing your trades and all these different types of things. You just simply go about your business and it's totally fine. And you employ people. And so I think a lot of Web3 companies are moving over there strategically because of that. And I think they'll stay there. I don't see them a reason for them to leave that as that home base. Maybe they might have subsidiaries in other countries, but I think Dubai would be a really good home base. But I don't know. What's your stance?
I mean, I think the problem with Dubai is if you kind of owe money in Dubai, um, they kind of put you in jail, and you can't get out of that. So if they put you in jail in Dubai, that's it. If you owe money, there isn't that. It's not like Europe or America. If you owe money, then there's ways in which you can pay the money back, or you declare bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
In Dubai, if you owe money, you're personally liable, and they just kind of put you in jail, and there's no way you can earn money whilst in jail. So I don't know. That's kind of the way they do things.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, maybe it's good from a point of like a company point of view to set up a base there, but to
Mm-hmm.
live there and to have that issue of possibly owing a bill you didn't know about or anything like that, and then boom, you know,
Yeah. But I
yeah.
don't think their economy is that credit based heavy.
Well,
If you
he
look at
can't.
even
He can't
go
be
ahead.
because you're going to go to jail.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of good because it's actual, real, nominal GDP growth. It's not the fake money printing stuff the thin air stuff that we see in the West, right? It's
Yeah,
actual,
yeah.
real GDP. So that's why I like it because even if you look at the housing, I don't know if I think it's really hard to. I don't think FD foreign direct investors can even get collateral there. They can even get like credit. I don't think so. But I'm not entirely sure. But I'm pretty sure because from my understanding, even if you want to buy real estate, you have to put down 25% of the actual amount of what
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
worth
yeah.
in terms of equity value, and then you pay the rest over time
I'm.
incrementally. So that's their mortgage, if you will.
I mean, I know two people who went to live in Dubai. Two. That's
Yeah.
it. So my cousin, she went to live there. And then once her husband fell ill, um, that was it. They kind of kicked them out. They're just like, right, well, we can't deal with this, and they had to leave. So there was kind of no. Once he had no job and the money ran out, and he needed support from the government based on his health bills, he had to leave. Her children were born in Dubai. They weren't given citizenship or anything like that. As far as they're concerned, they have this system whereby, like in the UK, if you're born in the UK and your parents are from Africa, um, you're still a British citizen. You're still part of the country.
Yeah.
Now, in Dubai, if your parents are from Canada or America and they're born in, and your children are born in Dubai, they don't class them as their own. So to me, that I just couldn't get my head around that. And then the other person I know who was in Dubai was my cousin's wife. So she was there, and once she lost her job, she had to leave. So
Yeah.
So, okay, fair enough. You don't have a credit heavy system whereby you can support the people who live there. But on the end of the day, when you need the country the most, you have to leave. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how. So for me, I mean, companies wise, it might be great, but to live there personally, I just can't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, the cool thing too, as well, is a lot of the companies that are going there are more companies that don't have brick and mortar type of it's not relying on a brick and mortar, right? So if you look at, for instance, Binance is $1 billion company and they don't even have a brick and mortar headquarters, right?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think we're entering a stage of like where you don't necessarily need a brick and mortar to operate, and so you don't have to maybe live in Dubai to get the
no,
employee,
no.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that the whole brick and mortar structure is kind of outdated. Although I do think FTX's kind of home base was that mansion they had. Um, so yeah, so the FTX's home base was that. I think was it in the Bahamas or something?
Yeah, yeah, it was in the Bahamas.
Did you see it?
Oh man, yeah, I heard that the Democratic Party gave back 2.2% of the lobbied money that Sam Bankman-Fried gave to the Democratic Party. It's quite interesting, man. I've been following the story a little bit, and it's kind of interesting. I want to see if he's actually going to go to jail. Is he actually going to get convicted? You know?
I don't know. I mean, for me, the whole situation was kind of bizarre. He kind of
Yeah.
published this thing that, oh, I want to give all my money to charity, and I'm such a great guy. And then he just, I think there was a YouTuber that kind of he made a video on him.
CopyZilla?
No, it wasn't. No. CoffeeZilla kind of exposed him. There was another YouTuber that was kind of promoting how charitable he was.
Yeah, yeah.
What
Why
was
do
his
people keep
name?
falling for that scam, man?
What was his? I think his name was Naz. Was it Naz, the YouTuber?
I'm not
Um,
sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I remember seeing the clips of that video from another YouTuber. Like someone YouTuber clipped part of the video. It's like this guy. He wears the same shirt every day, and he drives like a soccer mom minivan. You know, and he gives so much money back to the general population. You know.
yeah, all that crap, and then all of a sudden, the guy was running a Ponzi scheme, and he kind of just stole everybody's money. So
Oh man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope to be honest with you, I don't like prison. I don't like people going to prison.
Yeah.
Um, but I hope some justice is served. I
Yeah.
think his mistake was that he trusted that lady friend of his to kind of run the accounts on her own, and he gave her unlimited leverage or whatever he did.
Yeah. Yo, it's crazy what some guys will do for women, man. It's funny. It's
I
funny.
mean, if you look at every man's downfall, you have to look at the women, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true, man. Uh it's sad. It's the sad but ugly truth, man. And it sucks too because man, I was reading some of the stories on Reddit, man, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I got a little bit sad because I was just like, man, this one kid was like 23 or 24, lost all of his life savings. Another dude from like, I don't know, Philippines lost everything in FTX. And like, you know what I mean? Just people from all over the world were just losing money. Like this one kid became the first millionaire in his family and lost like $2 million. Yeah, from the whole thing. And then he was just like, "Yo, am I gonna get at least a portion of my money back? Like, this is really messed up."
But
But it's a hard lesson to learn.
the thing is that goes back to the original dilemma. Do you store your funds on a centralized exchange? You know,
I don't know why people do that. Like, for me, I always see an exchange. It's in the word, right? Exchange.
yeah,
It's not. It's not for you to store anything in. It's not a. It's not a.
security deposit,
Yeah.
whatever. It's an exchange. It's not got any. Its backing is shady as anything. So
Yeah.
you literally just swap your assets and take them out.
Exactly. That's the whole point, you know. So people who don't understand that basic principle, and then those are the type of people they call crypto a scam, you know, and it puts a huge blemish in the industry because you're calling it a scam because your lack of understanding of the tech, of understanding what how everything works, you know. If you don't understand Web 2 versus Web 3, if you don't understand how brokerage accounts work, if you don't understand uh you know, all the different nuances that comes along with it, you know, if you don't understand these things, then you lose, and that's your fault. You know, you should have educated yourself before you deployed capital anywhere, right?
I mean, on the end of the day, the whole FTX thing, they had this, from what I remember, they had this like 15% per year thing going on. Um, if I remember, they were like reclaiming tokens for 15% per year if you were swapping, or you kept some FTX token. I didn't follow the story too much, so people were just pouring money into it. Um, but I
Yeah.
think people should have questioned the whole 15% thing.
Yeah, anytime I hear like a high yield, I now question it a lot because, you know, when you're offering 8%, 9%, 10% yield, you know, you have to question it a lot because like where's the yield coming from? And then this is why like I told people to get their coins off of Voyager. You know, in my research group, I was telling them like, yo, get your coins off of Voyager because look, how are they sustaining a 10% yield? That means that they're loaning your money in the back end to other people, which it came out that they were loaning it out to Three Arrows Capital and other creditors, right? So you can't trust these exchanges, even if they're showing their proof of reserves. I still find it a little bit shady, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, definitely. Because I mean, sometimes the thing is, you have companies that were like using FTX to generate yield at 15%, and then they were using that as part of their own yield. So when
Yeah,
FTX went under, everybody kind of went under, and then now all of a sudden it's not just an FTX problem, but it's like all these other companies that were supposedly producing yield from FTX, and
yeah,
FTX was running a Class A Ponzi scheme.
man,
So I mean, where are you? You're nowhere basically. So I think the question is where is the yield coming from, and that's what
yeah.
we really have to look at.
Exactly. That's why all these yield companies, like what was it? BlockFi was one of them,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Voyager, Celsius, all of them started going down because people were like, wait a second, where's this yield actually coming from? And a lot of them, again, they were loaning it out to irresponsible people, right?
I mean,
Like
I
Three Arrows
actually
Capital.
I actually went to a convention and I met some of the team at Celsius. They were trying to
Hmm.
convince me to kind of join their thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, so I did the KYC thing, to just kind of
Hmm.
they passed it, and then 2 weeks after, boom, this happened, and then they just kind of went under.
It wasn't one of the execs like a porn star or something like, if I
I
recall.
I mean, I didn't look too much into the background of these people. I
Yeah.
just thought that there were, and a lot of people were kind of trying to sign me up to this, and I thought, hey, if I do my KYC here, have the account just in case I need to do something on it. It's a good thing to
Mhm.
have.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, to be honest with you, the collapse of Celsius wasn't as bad as the collapse of FTX. Because
Yeah.
straight after the collapse of FTX, kind of their account magically got hacked, and then you had funds mysteriously going to other accounts, and I think that was a lot more shady, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's quite crazy, man. Yeah, it's honestly it blows my mind, man, to see a lot of people lose their money like that. That's why I tell people all the time, man, you should definitely invest in a cold storage, understand cold storage, because that's the entire purpose of crypto is leaving the banking system and you become your own bank. And a lot of people they don't get it, man. They don't get it. And they don't want to take the time to learn. That's the thing. People want to make fast money. They want to open up a Robinhood account and buy Dogecoin and watch it go up 20x, you know?
I mean, on the end of the day, if I've noticed this in life in general, when people have to do the work to learn something, they say, you know what, forget it, you do it for me, or somebody else do it for me. They don't, even if they have the time to do it, they're like, I don't want to do it. And I think
Yeah.
I think that's where you're going wrong. People make money when the markets are kind of not that interesting, and then they've invested in it, and then all of a sudden they become interesting. Once once a sure deal becomes a sure deal, there's virtually no yield in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. Yo, did you see? I'm looking into these little things that are happening, like while people aren't paying attention. There's a couple things, right? One, have you seen the new proposal for the new ERC wallet that's going to come out for Ethereum?
Dude, I'm so out of touch in this.
Bro, oh my God. I'm gonna send you the link, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Honestly, like they have one thing that stuck out to me that I remember. I might pull up the link. Maybe I can read a little bit of this stuff in a little bit. But one thing that stuck out to me actually was they solved basically the private key issue, right? So basically, with your private key, you get your private key, and then you have this social recovery aspect where you can pick 3 or 4 people that you trust that they all collectively can recover your keys in the case of an event that you lose your keys.
Isn't that like Casa now? I mean, there's a service called Casa. I think they do the same thing, where you have like 3 ways you can like recover your private keys.
Yeah, but this is genius because it alleviates, because there was who was it that the guy used to, Jack Dorsey, right? He used to own Twitter, right? He
Yeah,
had an idea to do like a multi-sig thing where you have one percentage of the key, then you have another percentage of key you can maybe give to someone else, and
yeah.
then the company has another percentage of the key, and basically you need 2 out of the 3 at every time to be able to access your private keys. You know what I mean? But I don't like the company aspect of it, you know? But yeah, let me read it actually, because I have it pulled up real quick. I just want to read it to you because it's so interesting. So it says like the ERC dash 337 creates crypto wallets with onboard the next 1 billion users to Web3. Here's how it will help a normal user in simple words, right? Then uh, it says, what is ERC 4337 account abstraction? This is a new type of crypto wallet that gives you the same features as a bank would without having to trust a bank. It is what was proposed years ago and is now approved and live yesterday. An announcement was made at the ETH Denver event. What can it do for the average user? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So sorry, can we actually set up this wallet now, or is it fully working?
That's what I'm going to investigate now, because I'm not exactly sure if it's fully working. I just know the proposal went through, so maybe people can leverage the code and add it to the API at the back end of their wallet. That's what I'm assuming.
I'm going to definitely check this out, because
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I've been so preoccupied with other things that I haven't found time. But if I have a list of things that I need to look at, then I obviously find time and I do them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely investigate. I'll send you links and stuff, and I'll keep you updated on the process. But just for the content aspect, and so for the audience can know. So it says, what can this do for the average user? It can do things like wallet recovery, multi-sign transactions, bundle transactions, custom limits, and 2-factor authentication, gasless and sponsored transactions. Bro, it's crazy, and many more incredible things. Here's how you can use them, right? And then
So
it says,
this will be, sorry to say this will just be on the Ethereum network.
yeah, it's for ERC, and I'm sure like people can fork it, right? You know,
Yeah.
like AVAX and stuff like that. You know, they can fork the code. But it says for wallet recovery, are you one of those guys who lost wallet access and forgot key with a crypto punk in it? Now there's a solution. You can recover your wallet with a social recovery if you lose your keys. No more lost assets, right? And then it has a picture basically explaining how it works. And the functionality of it, basically what I described, is you pick a few people that you trust, and then if you lose your private keys, they can recover it for you, right? But they all have to do it, I guess, collectively. There's going to be more information on it. I think there's an entire blog and Medium article that you can read too as well. But I told you I'm going to send you the information later. And then it also says multi-sign transactions. Have a transaction that records the approval of your CFO and CEO. Easy setup. Or a transaction that requires 3 of the 5 directors to approve. It's all possible while still being decentralized, right? Amazing. Then you have the bundle transactions, which perform multiple functions in the same transaction. Example: approve and complete the listing of an NFT from a new collection in the same transaction, and add and send funds with just one approval. So instead of, you know how we have to, with MetaMask, you have to do two clicks usually.
Yeah. You have to approve it, then you have to.
Exactly. Now you can do it all in one transaction finally. And custom limits and two-factor authentication. You can now set up functions as you like and enable two-factor authentication.
So,
Example, go
just
ahead.
to stop you there, will banks, when they come to, because eventually what's going to happen is banks are going to be accepting direct crypto payments. I mean, this is the future. Will banks
Yeah,
be using something like this to do that?
yeah, I think so. I think so. For sure. Because the implementation of this, the logic, the rationale makes absolute sense for them to adopt this. And this is when he says he's going to adopt 1 billion users, this is what's going to do it, because now you've solved the issue of security, which is what a lot of people, they don't want to hold their private keys,
No.
right? So you've solved that issue, and now you've also you've solved the issue of companies and wanting to use crypto and maneuver around crypto with having you can set up customizable approvals, with directors or with CFOs, CEOs, and so on to approve large scale transactions, right? Because you
Mhm.
couldn't do that before,
I mean,
and so
what I like to know is the percentage of crypto users. How many of them actually have cold storage?
yeah, this is the thing though. But what I'm saying is this will help onboard new users to make it simple. Because the thing is, you don't need a cold storage wallet to be able to implement this stuff. This
So
is hot wallet.
that's why this is going to be hard.
It can be hot and cold. I think this can be implementation for both.
Seriously,
Because at the end of the day, if you have all these things on the hot wallet, you can still use the ledger as the final form of the two-factor authentication, right?
crazy.
Yeah. And so it also says it says custom limits and two-factor authentication. You can set functions as you like and enable two-factor authentication. Example, auto-approve transactions while a user is using the app. Wow. Let users set a spending limit. Password required for a transaction above a certain amount. Wow. So those hackers, right? That come in, you can put like a spending limit, like you can't spend more than, I don't know, 500, or if the limit goes past a certain amount, you need the password, you know? And so it's nice. So before the transaction gets sent out, you can implement, oh, it can't get sent out without the last signature password, And so it helps with people who get, hacked, and people, go into their MetaMask wallet and steal all their crypto.
I mean, this solves a whole array of problems, because like now, if I want to transfer 10 or 20,000 pounds out of my bank, traditional bank, um, they're gonna call me, they're gonna question me, what's it for, what's this, what's that, and rather than just doing the transfer based on it being me, uh,
Hmm.
they're more bothered about the actual what the transaction's for. Whereas what you're doing, what this is imposing now, this is kind of, you're going to be doing the transfer, but rather it's going to be focused on verifying that you are that person, you know,
Exactly.
rather than delving into your private life.
Exactly. Exactly. It's genius. Honestly, this whole thing, when I read this thread, I was like, Ethereum is here to stay. And then also it talks about the gasless and sponsored transactions, which is cool too, because it says no more need to pay gas for every transaction. Free transactions are a thing now, which is a little interesting. It says, and for transactions that require gas, you can set them to another wallet so the company can pay the gas on behalf of users. Think about that, right? So if you have like a company situation where you're part of being able to do the transactions, and then you can just credit it to the company. It's kind of like the same thing with the company and the per diem for gas and stuff like that, right? And for food, So you can credit it to the company, and the company can pay it for you if you needed to spend your crypto to do things, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, man, dude, it's crazy. And then
I
yeah,
mean, it is kind of like the hottest thing this kind of week on crypto.
yeah, that's basically it for the art, for the like the little summary, the little thread. But there's a deep dive into the article. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to see if what's being implemented exactly. Is it just for the hot wallets? How is it actually working? I'm going to get more of the feedback as I'm doing the investigation
I
portion. But
mean, I think what we should be doing, we should be like kind of hitting hot topics every single week. What's going on, kind of in the crypto world. I
yeah,
mean, it's difficult to keep up with this kind of thing anyway, because it just moves lightning speed.
I
The
know, I know.
it is hard, but the problem we're having is there's just so much FUD at the moment. Um, and then when something good does come onto like the scene, It's kind of overshadowed by all the FUD going on. But there's only so
Exactly.
much. There's only so much FUD that can happen, right?
Exactly, man. And if you think about it, there's been so much FUD and Bitcoin still holding strong, which is crazy because I thought it would have dropped to below. Some people were saying that 12K, 11K, my predicament was that it wasn't going to drop below 20K because it had never, this is the first cycle that Bitcoin dropped below its previous all-time high from the previous cycle. So for instance, last cycle was 20K and it dropped below 20K because that was the peak of last cycle. And the cycle before that, I think it was 3K, if I'm mistaken. And it never drops below its all-time high from the previous cycle. And this was the first cycle that this is the first cycle that it did it. And so that's why I was projecting that it wasn't going to do it. And that's why I started buying when it went below 20K because this is undervalued because it's never done this before.
I mean, I like the way you think, man, because obviously having such a system in place means that you keep calm when you come to trading this stuff.
Exactly.
So by definition, the next cycle, Bitcoin could quite easily hit, I don't know, maybe 200-300K. Who knows?
Yeah. I think at the minimum 150 because it at least should do a 10x from the complete market bottom. And right now that's 15K for now. We don't know if it's going to crash down further, but right now it's 15K. So at minimum it should do 150K. It depends on how much money printing goes on and more adoption is going to happen. You see countries like Costa Rica, they're starting to make moves now to make Bitcoin legal to tender. Brazil made moves with MasterCard to allow crypto payments with card now. So there's countries that are making moves and aren't trying to choose it because the thing is, we're going to get to a point where people are going to have to choose between a CBDC and crypto. That's just going to be what it's going to be between countries all the way down to consumers, right? And if you choose a US backed CBDC, well, you're effectively trapped, right, as a country. Because imagine you're buying the US exports with US dollars and you're using their CBDC, and then you're using the CBDC dollars that you're getting to buy US bonds. And now US basically has a stranglehold on your entire economy, so they can cut you off because all the USD that you have as a collateral, right?
Yeah, but when it comes to mainstream adoption, I think the banks will just kind of implement they'll kind of implement CBDCs without the public knowing it. So it'll kind of just be a seamless transition. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think your average Joe knows much about crypto. And I think when it does happen, the switch will. It's like most people. You ask them how money's made, they're like, they don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, we see a couple use cases already. Like if you look at the CBDC implementation in Nigeria, for instance, it's going completely terrible. Very little, tiny percentage of adoption. So they're trying to force people to adopt it, and people are buying Bitcoin right now at almost a 2x multiple.
Really?
Yeah, and the CBDC is supposed to roll out at the end of this year. They're forcing people to adopt it, and they don't want it because they know what it means. It means dystopia. So so I mean, we see a few case studies already that it's going really bad. Also, Lebanon is dealing with a lot of bad stuff too right now with hyperinflation and currency instability too as well. So I think people are smart enough than you think. I think that once they see the limitations of you can't buy this, you can't buy that, or you have a limit, you can't buy Chinese products, you can't buy so much gas every month because you're emitting too much carbon emissions in the air. Once people start to realize the limitations of what the government is allowing you to purchase and how the monitoring is, which because everything's transparent on chain and can be easily be changed with the algorithm. So you no longer have to, the government doesn't have to do the monitoring anymore because everything's on chain and they can just change the algorithm quickly. And then so I think once people understand that, I think the same thing that's happening in Nigeria right now, it will follow suit where people will really fight against it. And
I mean, the problem is the government can put conditional statements. So, for instance, if you buy so much of this, like you're only allowed to buy so much units of alcohol per week. You're only allowed to interact with these companies. You're not allowed to interact with this company or this business. If you turn around and you get barred from a place, or they say, well, they don't want your custom, they could turn around and say, right, well, we don't want this customer anymore. Boom. And then all of a sudden your money will become worthless there. You'll just go in and it won't be valid. But
Yes.
the frightening thing for me, especially with CBDCs as a whole, was when COVID happened. The pandemic happened. You saw crazy ass businesses that were putting up signs saying "No vaccine, no entrance." And no, I mean it's true. I mean there was places like the mall, and they wouldn't accept you if you weren't vaccinated or have a proof of that you were clear, for instance. So
Mm-hmm.
when you had that kind of, people were divided to that degree for something that was complete, in my opinion, an overreaction.
Facts.
Yeah, it was just an overreaction. I mean, if you look at, I'm not going to get into it on this podcast, but it was a complete overreaction.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way people responded to that, if you now gave those businesses um, the ability to kind of filter out their customer base based on their vaccination status, now you have effectively the quote, you know, if you don't have the mark of the beast, you can't buy, sell, or trade. It's not that far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't, because now all of a sudden you can't buy, sell, or trade because you haven't got the vaccine.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right, man. It was
And
crazy times. Oh, go
I
ahead.
mean,
Sorry.
it was crazy times, but I mean, what offended me mostly was how people responded to those times,
Mm-hmm.
and people couldn't see the sense. People weren't understanding. I mean, I know of a guy who was 94. He died. He had leukemia for 25 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
He outlived his wife. I think he outlived one of his children as well. And he
Mm-hmm.
died at the age of 94 because he contracted. He was blind. He was partially blind. He went to hospital. He died, and then they found out that he had coronavirus, and they put on his death certificate, reason of death, coronavirus.
Yeah.
And nobody dare question this. And then you had all this stuff going on, and then nobody would question it. And then all of a sudden, now you have businesses turning around and saying, we don't want your business because you're not vaccinated. So I think the introduction of CBDCs is harmful in the sense that now you're giving control to the businesses to turn around and implement possibly discriminatory conditions to who they can deal business with. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine if somebody turned around and said, based on your ethnic background, we don't want your trade.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a scary. That's a social credit score. That's where we're headed. China already has the beta version of it. The social
Yeah.
credit score is a real thing.
I mean, in the UK, they charge you more for your car insurance based on your postcode. But
Yeah.
the crazy thing is, certain postcodes that house like immigrants or people of Asian descent, they seem to live together. So
Hmm.
now all of a sudden they're discriminating against people of those postcodes.
That's crazy, man. That's
So
crazy. It's
so
happening.
so it's discrimination by proxy. So
Yes.
if you implement the full on CBDCs, then possibly you could discriminate without people knowing that you're discriminating.
Yes. This is a clear fear for me personally, because after I saw what happened in the pandemic, where friends that I used to have, they're not my friends anymore. I would literally try to convince them that, not really convince them, but just convince them to think. Not that if I was right or wrong, but just try to tell them like, hey, I'm getting different kinds of information from people who actually work at the hospital. And for me, I was like, yo, I talked to doctors that didn't get the vax.
Yeah, sure.
You
I
know?
mean, I lost a ton of friends. I had a guy who used to come in, repair my computers and that. I turned around, I
Yeah.
said to him, he said to me, "You vaccinated?" I said, "No." He charged me double. He messed me around. And as far as he was concerned, that was okay because, I mean, before he was great. Once he heard that I wasn't vaccinated,
Yeah.
basically completely changed as a person. So what I'm trying to tell you is when you tell people, especially in this day and age, that you're not vaccinated or you didn't necessarily overly concern yourself or you weren't scared to be vaccinated in that stance,
Hmm.
uh, now they feel foolish. A lot of people feel foolish now. I mean, if
Hmm.
somebody's like 20 years old and he's vaccinated, it's like, kind of, was there really a need for it? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, over the age of 50, 60, sure, go for it. But like 20-year-olds. They were doing kids at 16.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. And it was crazy just seeing how everything, and the craziest part is people just go back to normal, man. And they act like they weren't yelling at that grandma in the store and telling her to put on a mask,
Yeah,
because she didn't want
yeah.
to
I
cry.
mean, this is fact. I was in the bank, and this 86-year-old woman came into the bank,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say which bank it was because I don't want to do that. But anyway, the 86-year-old grandma walked in, and she says, the guy at the bank, he says, "Where's your vaccination status?" She goes, "I don't have one." She goes, "Well," he says, "Well, I can't let you in." She goes, "Well, I need money to eat. I need my pension money." He goes, "I don't care." He says, "You can't enter the bank. You'll need to go somewhere else." And he literally kicked her. And then I was like stood in the queue, and the
Mhm.
lady in front of me said, "Yeah, that's the right thing to do to get rid of them." And I was like, "Are you insane?" I mean, she's 86, man. She's
Yeah.
basically got maybe another 10 years left in her, 6 years, whatever she's got left. She
Yeah.
looks like she's dying as she is. And you're
Yeah.
gonna sit here and deny her money to feed herself based on this thing? And she
Hmm.
was like, I said, "You're all idiots." And I was so annoyed, I just walked out.
Dude, I'll tell you another story. When I was working, I was on my way to work, and no, on my way back from work, and I was super hungry, bro, because I didn't eat the whole time because we're super busy at work. And this was like at the beginning of the whole pandemic thing, right? And I was eating, right? And this girl, I was in a train, and this girl comes in the train, and she's like, "Hey, you're not allowed to eat in here." And I was like, "I'm starving. I'm literally about to die. Like, I'm about to pass out." And she's like, "I don't care. You're not allowed to eat in here." I was like, "So if I would have passed out and if I would die, then what? My death is on your hands, And she was like, "I don't really care. The rules are the rules. I'll call the cops if you don't comply." And I was like, "Lady, you are being a sheep. You need to think on your own. Sometimes you need to use common sense. Just because the government tells you to do something doesn't
Doesn't make
necessarily
it
mean
right.
that.
No, it
Yes,
doesn't
doesn't
make
mean it's right.
no, man, it doesn't make. I mean, in Nazi Germany, right?
Yes.
They were telling the people to do this, to do that, to mean it was right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. But
I said people didn't stop to one day. I said, "I'm just asking you, think about it.
yeah.
They're adjusting the statistics. They're vaccinating people that don't need to be vaccinated. And additionally, there's all these people that are dying from adverse effects, and they're
Hmm.
suffering tremendously from and they're not even published and they're hidden. And then
Yeah.
what is this all for? I mean, when you look at it, because I work with the general public, they were telling me. I mean, a customer came into the shop and he says to me, "My wife's in a coma because she
Hmm.
had the vaccine." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, she had the vaccine." And you know what he said after he said that? "But we
What?
are so lucky."
Yo,
No, I
that
swear.
is crazy.
They're so fucked up. Sorry, they're so screwed up when it comes to their mental kind of uh like their vision of what they should be seeing, and
Yeah.
their perception is so screwed
Yeah.
that they now believe they're lucky.
That's incredible, man.
I
But
mean,
I call them the normies. I call them normies, right?
there
Because
was another guy who's like an ambulance man, and I also know him, and he was telling me that there was this lady that she got vaccinated, and then just literally 3 days after, as she was washing the plates, she just literally dropped dead. Like 30-year-old girl
wow.
just dropped dead in cold. And then he's like, well, like he himself, he was driving the ambulance. He said, "I'm not getting the vaccine," and he never did. And then, but they couldn't do anything here. They couldn't kind of like force them not to like to get the vaccine because there was too many laws protecting people to do that. But if you looked at other
Mhm.
countries, how they force people to like get the vaccine, um, it was crazy. And to me, if you have a CBDC on the table, considering people aren't all that good, because people are not good. I mean, we like to think. I mean, even people that give to charity, they kind of say, "Look, I'm giving to charity." So it's not really a good thing. It's like instead of giving it selflessly and saying, "I've just done this good deed," They're more like doing it for promotion. People are not inherently good. It's just that they're just not. Imagine a world where CBDCs are in control, and imagine private businesses are able to set conditions.
That's where we're headed, though.
And
That's where
if that I could turn around to in a business and say, I'm only serving people that wear red shirts or blue shirts. I'm not serving anybody else. And as a private business, that's completely legal to do. Completely legal. It's not illegal to do it because it's not something you were born with. So if I was to turn around and say, well, I'm not discriminating against you, but now you have to do this, this, and this, which you might possibly not agree with for me to serve you. And I think that's where we're heading with CBDCs.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. It's crazy, but I've been trying to warn people. I told you I used to have friends, and I had to drop a lot of people, man, because they didn't get it, and everything I said they would just attack or combat it. And it wasn't that I was trying to say something that I was right. I just wanted to raise awareness to the complexities of the situation because it's not very simple. It's not a direct, narrow path of trust the government blindly. And this is the thing: people are taking that path of just trusting the government blindly, not understanding they're about to trap you in a world where you're screwed.
I mean, listen, the government do what they have to do to survive. I mean, that's the way it is. It's the way it is. Look at the way pension schemes are. Just look how that is. So hold on, I give you my money. Say I'm at the age of, I've just started now at the age of 20 or whatever. I've just started working. You lock my money up until I'm 65 or 67 or whatever it is. Devalue the hell out of my money, right? And give me that money back plus a little bit extra, which doesn't account for the devaluation. And during that time, I don't have access to my own money.
Yep. Exactly.
So this is kind of just a government scheme. But
it's a big Ponzi.
It's a Ponzi, yeah, but it's a long Ponzi. And by the time you've realized it, you're too bloody old to do anything.
Yeah.
So
it's sad.
It's sad, but if you look at most normal people out there, they fall for this scam. And they're like, yeah, this is my pension. And it's like, I mean, look at premium bonds. That's another one. I don't know if you have them in the States or premium bonds, like they have them here. So what you do is you give them your money and then you have a chance to win some money every single like month or whatever it is. But the thing is, the money that you give them, the chance that you have to win is below inflation. So they're effectively winning. So if it's true. I mean, you can look it up yourself. You give them £10,000 in 1970, for instance. You still have £10,000 today, but every month or whatever, you may have a chance to win something that, extra money. But on the whole, the extra money you win is somewhat below inflation. So it's like, where are you? Overall, the system is in their favor.
Exactly. And they use those bonds to fund their operation. That's the funniest part about it, because they subsidize because, the taxes isn't enough. If you look at it, they're not getting enough tax revenue and they subsidize with the bonds, and the easing, right? The quantitative easing.
There's one way they can solve all this, and that is by implementing a transaction fee. If they implemented a transaction fee on every single transaction, whether you're rich, whether you're Bill Gates, whether you're Amazon, just a transaction fee on every single transaction in the world, right? And they had a fixed percentage on that, they could solve this problem.
Yes.
But the problem is,
I talked about that before, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry, continue.
The problem is you have these very, very, very rich companies that they don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes absolute sense because this is what I was thinking of how the future would work with. You could tie in it with cryptocurrency because you could implement it into the smart contract so that every time a transaction happens, a little percentage goes to the business, a little percentage goes to tax, a little percentage goes to the employees automatically.
I mean, you can get rid of accountants completely.
Exactly. And that's the beauty about this technology that people don't really look at it, how it can be leveraged to be able to simplify the capital efficiency and increase the economic output and decrease the friction of the system, right?
I mean, how many people are paid in accountancy offices, in tax offices to deal with this shit when all of a sudden now you can have a system that automatically does it? So I guess that can be the power of like CBDCs. So that could be like a positive aspect where you kind of have this thing autopilot. The only danger of CBDCs as a whole is implementing restrictions and conditions based on whatever, like the individual. Like for instance, if for instance, without being discriminatory, let's say I don't want Chinese customers. Okay, I can't say I don't want Chinese customers, but what I can do is I can set condition within the people that I deal with that they are not allowed to have bought from these stores, and those stores typically Chinese people go there.
Yeah.
So it's discrimination by proxy, and this is kind
Yeah.
of what you don't want to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's that's crazy, man. That's crazy. But yeah, it's definitely something that it's something that could potentially be a potential solution. Because look, you like it or not, money is going to change, right?
Yeah.
This isn't an opinion. This is a fact. Money has to change because the system is broken, and we're almost at the tail end of this fiat type of system, right? It started in 1971 after they banned the gold reserve currency, right? And we're at the tail end, of this money backed by thin air, and people deciding when they want to rob people indirectly with inflation, right? Because and make people pay two taxes, because you pay one tax to the government and you pay a hidden tax with inflation, and yeah, we're at the tail end of this, man. And for people like us who have assets, we're gonna win. It's unfortunate for people who don't have assets, that are just playing the 9 to 5 game and are just keeping their money in the bank. I feel really bad for them because they're going to lose in the end when everything becomes hyperinflated and they move into a new system and convince people that the system is broken and need to change things dramatically, right? And then people will look for the government to save them, and then that's how they're going to get them and onboard them into the CBDC system.
I mean, we could talk about this all day, really. I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at UBI's universal basic
yeah,
system,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, we can definitely talk about this all day.
yeah,
I mean, ultimately, if you don't have money, you don't have protection, you don't have assets, and you're subject to basically whatever the state says and does, kind of like you have to do this, or we're not going to help you, then you just become a slave, and you're no longer in control of what you want to do. We saw this with COVID. One of my brothers, he was during the pandemic, the government turned around to him and said that they wouldn't pay him any sick pay because he's not vaccinated, and they forced him to get vaccinated. So what I'm trying to say, you can literally force people to do things without them wanting to do it when there's a financial incentive involved.
yeah,
And if you're a millionaire and you say, right, well, screw this, this isn't right, you can kind
yeah,
of say, right, well, I'm holding my own, I don't believe in this. But if
yeah.
you don't have any money and all of a sudden you have to do what the government tells you, then to some degree you're going to cave in and you're going to do what they say.
Exactly. Especially if your situation is dependent on the government,
Yeah.
If you're having your own cash flow, your own equity in your own company, or you have your own thing going on, then you're dependent from the system, right? But if you're relying on an employer, good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah, you're no good, no good. And I think this is kind of what COVID has shown us. Let's just hope that I don't think this whole mess that COVID caused is over. I think it'll take probably till 2030 for this mess to blow over. But by then it'll be the whole monetary system will have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think for sure by 2030, we'll see a huge difference in not just the monetary system. I think we're right now going through the digital and financial revolution era, when you also combine artificial intelligence too as well, and the
Yeah,
capabilities
yeah,
of what that can do.
definitely, definitely.
I think by 2030, there's a lot of things are going to change dramatically. And if you're not at the forefront of these industries like Web3 and artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality,
You're going to
man,
be left behind, basically.
yeah.
Anyhow, Right. Okay. So
we can wrap it up from there, man.
yeah, let's wrap it up from here. I mean, we could probably do another podcast probably next week or so. Just whenever, just hit me up. We can definitely do something up.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, this concludes this episode of the Mooncast, and peace.